Welcome to Medium Rare Poetry. My name is Filet Mignon and I am your host and poet. Today we are looking at a little town half an hour to the west in the hinterland of Noosa Heads, which is a very popular tourist mecca on the north of the Sunshine Coast in subtropical Queensland. This little town that sits up on the hinterland is known as Cooroy. However, for those who are not from the region, they look at the spelling and think it's Cooroy. Anyway, today's tale is a rollicking story about a fellow from Cooroy who'll help the farmers out in times of need. I present to you the Cooroy Cowboy.
The Cooroy Cowboy by Filet Mignon. A kindly sort of chap he was, and liked to do his bit, to lend a helping hand when man and beast were in the pit. He'd heard that farmers way out west were deluged by a flood. He loaded up his pop-top and so headed for the scrub. Although he owned an acre in the Noosa hinterland, you wouldn't call him skilled at all when farming was the brand. He did possess a passion which most others could not claim. His want was digging holes that put the other blokes to shame. He was broad across the shoulders, but his legs were fairly slim. His nickname was the giveaway sign, propped up by skinny limbs. As to the task before him, he was perfectly deployed, replacing miles of fence lines which the floods had just destroyed. He wound up north of Boulia on a 1,000,000-acre run, with paddocks large as countries. You'd hit nothing with a gun. A solo kind of bloke he was, alone with just his rig. He'd park his van along the line and commence his daily dig. The perfect hole for fencing measured 1 foot length and breadth, and 3 feet down considered as the model post-hole depth. He had a PhD, you know, though not the usual mill. A degree in post-hole digging was his academic skill, and so it was he laboured like those diggers down the mines, creating holes for backup teams to set their fencing lines. He only dug the holes, you see. This was his main vocation, a focused mind and body, choosing simple excavation. He didn't have a compass, but those holes remained aligned, exactly where the farmer had informed him at the time. But then one day a station bloke appeared in quite the panic. He looked as if he'd won a fare aboard the new Titanic. "We need your help," the cocky cried. "We've gone and lost a stallion. He bolted in the dead of night. We'll need a damn battalion." "I'm not much good with horses," our hero did expound. "They're far too high, and it would seem a long way to the ground." "I thought as much," the boss explained. "I picked you for a girlie. I've got a placid mare to suit. We even named her Shirley." With no excuse remaining, he begrudgingly was led, the man from Snowy River ringing somewhere in his head. And lo, a mighty posse had amassed around a ute, with rugged bushies eager to commence their wild pursuit. They eyed this Cooroy cowboy, with his hair unkempt and curly. They're mounted on an equine mess, referred to them as Shirley. The men appeared on thoroughbreds, all proud and fine of mane, while Shirley looked for all the world like mouldy multigrain. The cocky issued orders as to where the search should start, and off they took in clouds of dust like supersonic darts. Our Shirley watched the spectacle and gave a horsey yawn, and wandered off the other way, our cowboy loosely born. Now, worst of all the warnings of the hazards to be forged, avoid all costs at entering the rotting Dingo Gorge. And where did Shirley ramble, with bewildered on her stern? Yep, right towards the danger zone, where none would e'er return. 100 yards from entering the threatening, chilling gap, the mare took off at frightening speed, sweeping Cowboy off her back. He checked himself all over, for he laid completely flat. But miracles do happen, and he found himself intact. With not a clue as what to do, he rummaged through his store, producing dried-up pikelets he had made the night before. And while in contemplation, a moist muzzle did appear, hell-bent on scoffing pikelets that it seemed to hold quite dear. Our Cowboy nearly lost it as he fell about with laughter. A 2-week foal was drooling, standing by his stallion father. And next to them was Shirley, with a mare who looked engorged. They'd given up the shelter of the rotting Dingo Gorge, and so, by luring pikelets, the brave Cowboy led them home, just ambling at the youngster's pace along the floodplain's loam. And when they reached the homestead, seeing searchers all but beat, the Cowboy grinned and penned his charges, locked in nice and neat. The red-faced bushies glorified the Cowboy from Cooroy, who let them know the newborn was in fact a baby boy. His mother was Laverne, and was as lazy as a blister, related to sweet Shirley in the shape of her half-sister. And what to place a name upon the newly christened tikelet, the Cowboy had the weird idea to name the baby Pikelet. As legends go, this tale is told on every Queensland station, of post holes dug precisely by a city-born relation, and how all fears were overcome and safety was ignored the day he saved dear Pikelet from the rotting Dingo Gorge.
Another Australian legend. And wasn't Pikelet cute? Anyway, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the poem. Please like and share this video, and subscribe if you wouldn't mind. That would be wonderful. And may you have the best day ever. And for now, bye-bye.